And that's why I think reinvention is so important, because when there's this huge gap between how the business is operating and who you now are, it's almost impossible to grow, because
Mm.
it's not congruent. It's out of alignment, right? And I think a lot of people think they have to like burn it down, shut it down, start over, pivot into something totally new. And it's not that at all.
Welcome to Reward, the podcast of The Trust. We are the show specifically for women entrepreneurs who want to build businesses into the multi-million-dollar revenues and beyond, but especially because we know the reward is much greater than that. I'm Allie Brown, and I'm excited to introduce you to these diverse female leaders from a variety of industries, women making huge impact and who are unwilling to settle for the status quo. On the web, visit jointhetrust.org to learn more about our modern community for forward-thinking 7- and 8-figure women entrepreneurs. That's jointhetrust.org. See you there. Now, get ready to enjoy this episode's powerful conversation. Kelly Roach, you look like you're at CNBC. Is this in your home?
Well, Allie, they say it happens first in your mind and then it actually materializes in the universe. So I'm just setting up the studio to get ready
I
for the
love
show.
it. I love it.
We don't know. We
What's
don't know
funny
what.
is all the people on TV, though, want to go have their own shows at home now. So
Exactly. So I'm just setting the stage for this, Allie. I turn my home office into a studio.
I
You
love
never know
it.
what could happen, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, we'll come down and rent it too. That looks nice.
There
Maybe I'll
we
come do my
go.
show at your house. We'll hang
I
out.
love
It comes with
it.
cocktails at the pool there
Absolutely.
in
Cocktails by the
Florida.
pool. 100%.
So we're going to dive right in and talk about reinvention today. And I
Yeah.
love that you wanted to, dive into this theme. It's something you and I talk about a lot. I think we
Yeah.
have a lot in common in
Yeah.
understanding and embracing this as part of the business journey. But I think it would be good to go back to the listeners who also may know about your past reinventions, like in your life and who you've
Yeah.
become, and then we can kind of dive into the theme in general. How does that sound?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, so for me, how I got started on this whole conversation about reinvention was you and I both work with a lot of established business owners. They've been around for a while, they've built successful companies. And I just kept hearing over and over again that I think a lot of people feel like they were uncomfortable in their own skin and they didn't feel excited about
Mm,
what they were doing anymore. And you asked like about my own story. I started looking back on my own story. And what I realized, Allie, was like, I've probably had 5 or 6 big reinventions of my own brand. And it really was like personal rebirth followed by business reinvention, personal rebirth, business reinvention. But I look at how do I still feel excited about what I'm doing today, which looks very different than what I was doing a couple years ago. And I think the reason is that as I evolved as a person, I gave myself the freedom to make decisions to evolve what I was doing in business. And I feel like when we evolve, but we don't evolve what we're doing in the business, there's this internal conflict and friction,
mm-hmm.
even if it's subconscious, which I think for a lot of people, it's subconscious for a long time and they're going through the motions and they can't understand why they're working so hard and yet there's no results coming. So they keep working harder and harder and still the results don't come. And it's like they're incongruent with what they're doing and they don't even realize it because they haven't given themselves permission from a self-trust standpoint to say, this is my business, this is my life. I can do whatever the F I want with it. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
in control. I can make change. And I think at the beginning of our businesses, we feel that way, Allie. I think once we've built something successful and there's a lot more moving pieces and there's history and team and infrastructure and expense, I think then people become a lot more weary and resistant to actually listening to their own intuition and actually doing the reinvention that's necessary to like make that next leap, you know?
Yeah. Especially when something's working well.
Yeah.
Like that's new for us.
Mhm.
It's new for us as women as well, right? Which is a whole
Yes.
other show. My God, we could do is like having that
Yes.
courage to say, you know what, this is good, but also now I want to create something different and better.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of guilt around that. I think women in particular feel like when they've built something that's good, that they should just be grateful that they have enough, especially women that have built million or multi-million dollar companies. It's like, sit down, like be happy, be grateful. You've already like broken the statistics. You should be happy with what you have. I think a lot of women feel guilty for wanting more or for wanting something different. And I think that that's the whole beauty of life. Like, we have this short window. When our time's up, our time is up, right? And I think fulfilling our spirit and keeping our spirit alive, that's the whole game of life. And that impacts then your relationship with your children and the people that you choose to spend your life with and everyone that you interact with. Your energy and how you feel about what you're doing and the journey that you're on, whether you want it to or not, it impacts everyone in your sphere,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Tell us about the
Yeah.
reinventions that you've gone through, kind of like that, top line timeline
Yeah. I mean,
of
so
Kelly
for me,
Roach.
like, obviously I came from the Fortune 500 world. I came in, I started off doing sales coaching and consulting. I realized really quickly that everyone wants sales but doesn't want to learn sales. And so I started teaching online marketing and business building. And I was a coach, right? And I was a coach. And then I built a coaching company. And then I became the live launch girl. And I was like, this is cool, but I don't really want to be known as the live launch girl. I've helped thousands of people to scale businesses with launching, but like that's not my big purpose in life, right? So then I saw all the ridiculousness going on online with the pointing and the dancing and the lip syncing and really smart women in particular who thought they had to do really stupid things to be relevant. And then I wrote the conviction marketing book, right? Because I was like, F this, you guys are so much better than this. What are you doing? Like, stop it. You don't have to do any of that to be successful. You can use your brains. So then I became the conviction marketing girl and I did the whole thing about conviction marketing. And then I was like, you know what? I really like running this business. We hit 8 figures. We made the Inc. 5,000 list, all of these things. And I was like, I don't really want to be a coach for the rest of my life. Like there's so much more to explore and do and be. And so I brought in an executive team and I spent almost 2 years building a leadership team and I hired the wrong people and I went through ins and outs and all kinds of crap with that. And finally, I got the right people. And then I was able to start splitting out my other businesses. Now I have 6 companies. I have 2 presidents, an executive director, a partner in one of them. And now I have these companies that are in different spaces at different price points with different business models. And I feel like the person that I am today and how I can mentor people, not just in building their business, but in the self-trust, self-belief, identity
Mm-hmm.
space is so much more in depth than it ever could have been if I just sat where I was and said, well, it's a lot safer to stay where I am running this coaching company. It was a lot more work. And this is, I think, the part that people don't realize. To close the freedom loop in business, you have to have a winning team. A winning team is expensive, but they're also autonomous. And the problem is you go through a lot of shit on the way to building that team. Everyone thinks when you start hiring, oh, this is going to be so great. It's going to get all of this work off my plate. It's going to be easier. It's going to be less hours. It's going to give me my freedom back. And then they realize
Mm-hmm.
really quickly, like, no, that's like step 18. After you go through 3 or 4 rounds of the wrong people, after you finally have mind share with the right people, it's like down that road, right? It's so many steps to get to that place. But I think it's just, again, I think when you run from one problem, it always keeps popping up in other ways,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like learning the lesson that's in front of you so that you can move to the next evolution of your journey, you
Do you
know?
think that that's a sticking place, a place that a lot of women get to when they're leading, and then they're like, "This is too much," or they think, "Oh, this isn't going to work for me," or that it
Every
just
day.
kind of blows up, and yeah.
Every day. Every day, I see women throw their dreams away every day of the week because they go down the path of building a team and it's not what they thought it was going to be. And then they don't trust themselves because they make the mishire. They have the person that turns on them, or they have the person, like, I've had it all, Allie. Like, you know this. Like, I'll just be totally open. Like, I've had takedown campaigns. I've had betrayal. I've had people steal from me. I mean,
This
like,
is
I
like a
could give
Lifetime movie.
like I could do a movie about all the things, right? But would I do it all over again? 100%, because now the freedom that I have, like I told you, this is my last call of August. I'm getting to have the month off with my family and just, spend time with Madison and Billy. But that's because I sacrificed and worked through all of these like really ugly, hard things. And I didn't give up on my belief that when you look at the real business world, in the vast majority of businesses in the real business world, the founder or the owner is not running around in the day to day of the business. They're not even, no one knows who the founder or the owner is in most real businesses. And I feel like the online marketing world, it's such tunnel vision for us as founders and entrepreneurs to think that we have to be on camera every day. We have to be in everything every day. We can't get the business running without us. But when you look at the reality, that little bubble that we're assessing what is our responsibility or what is our scope as a founder, it's not representative of the rest of the world. It's not representative of the
Hmm.
real business world, right? So for
Yeah.
me, like I wanted to push through that upper limit that I kept seeing everyone hit and keep going to get to the other side so that I could help other people get there as well. But it
Yeah.
was ugly. It was not a nice, clean,
And women need to hear this, and I do think then we beat ourselves up and we're like, "If I really knew what I was doing, this wouldn't be so
that's
hard,"
it.
and, you know, and then, yeah, they shrink, and that's where you see them get stuck at these revenue levels. It's typically, I mean, team there's several factors, but team is a big part of it. I was just
Yeah.
discussing this with, I can't remember who it was. We were talking about common sticking points in revenue, and there's like that first few 100,000, and then typically like around the million. And I do think team correlates with both of those sticking
Oh,
points.
100%. And you know what it is, Allie, to your point, we think that we're stupid idiots when we have these challenges. Like literally what happens is we have this confidence and this excitement to like embark on this journey. And then when stuff starts going wrong, we start thinking like, "Oh, who did I think that I was? Like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to build a winning team. Like I don't know how to lead people. I don't know how to manage millions of dollars. I don't know how to hold the space for, hundreds of clients," and then they just start like reverting back. But the problem is like even if like so I have businesses in different business models now, so I feel like I have a different perspective than I did, but like even in a business model that is not like a high touch service delivery model, if you want to get to a certain income level, you have to get to a certain revenue level. And to get to a certain revenue level, you have to have a certain number of clients, which means that even if you don't have a high touch service model, which I have that with an agency and with a coaching company, but in the other companies where it's not a high touch service model, you still need infrastructure and team. So if you
Mhm.
want freedom and you want a certain income level, there's a rub in the middle and it's always going to come back to team. And I think the thing that we have to remember about team is like you're dealing with humans. You can't control them, you can't predict them. And by the way, the moment that you hire someone, you're seeing the version of that person in that moment in whatever's going on in their life right then. But then as that person is on your team, just like we're experiencing things in life and we have things going on, same thing's happening for them. So it doesn't mean that you're an idiot or you don't know what you're doing because you hired someone that seemed amazing and was amazing for a short while and then didn't work out or turned out to be a nightmare. That happens to everyone. And is there something to learn? There's always something to learn, right?
Mhm.
But I think what happens for a lot of women is they shrink back to whatever they feel like they can just kind of manage on their own or manage with just like, a little bit of help because they feel like there's something they don't know or there's something they haven't been able to learn or master. And while there is a skill element of it, there's also a human element of it. And there's always going to be a level of unpredictability and a level of change that you can't control.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you look at what's happening right now too, I wanna ask a question from a different angle, and
Mhm.
there is a quickening right now of
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
If you wanna get kind of metaphysical, there's what people are talking about as, this ascension and, like, this collective evolution of consciousness, so we have that happening. At the same
Mhm.
time, AI is coming at us full
Yeah.
force, like, technology changes are happening full force.
Yeah.
So there's, like, all these, in my mind, I view it as, like, just energetic insanity, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're elevating as humans, supposedly, right? We'll see. Then you have all these forces coming at us.
Yeah.
Technology is changing. Like, you're looking online, there's just new things every day. We are
Yeah.
being absolutely forced into a period of reinvention for
Yeah.
nearly everyone I know. Let's talk
Yeah.
about that, and then I know you have even a process and way that you approach things from this place of reinvention.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think that what a lot of people with all the changes that are happening right now, it's like if you keep showing up in your life and in your business the same way that you had been, you're just going to kind of like self-destruct, right? It's like everything has changed. Everything is changing like right before our eyes. And I think the marriage of the evolution of consciousness and the introduction of AI is creating this very, very important and meaningful gap in the world, which is that information in and of itself is not going to be super valuable anymore. But your thoughts, your feelings, your humanity, your unique perspective on things, that's very valuable. Like that's the one thing that's irreplaceable. And I think that for a lot of people, they need to or are being invited to go a lot deeper with what they're doing and how they're doing it and show up in a new way. And that's why I feel this concept of reinvention is so important. I think that a lot of people do this thing called, I call it panic pivoting, when they feel like something isn't working and they're just
Mm.
like, I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to burn it down. I'm going to blow it up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then they flip the switch and like one day they're like teaching Bitcoin and then the next day they're teaching AI and you're like, what is
You saw
wrong
this
with this?
during COVID too, didn't
Yeah,
we? We saw a lot
every
of that.
day,
People
every day.
just suddenly doing something completely not even related, or
And
it
it
was like a
never works,
180.
right? It never works. But a
Mm.
thoughtfully done up level or reinvention or what I call a relaunch, where the business catches up to your consciousness. You have evolved. You've gone through new things in your life. You've experienced new things. The business is still living as the form that you created when you were this person, but you're not this person anymore. You're this person. And that's why I think reinvention is so important, because when there's this huge gap between how the business is operating and who you now are, it's almost impossible to grow because
Mm.
it's not congruent. It's out of alignment, right? And I think a lot of people think they have to like burn it down, shut it down, start over, pivot into something totally new. And it's not that at all. It's that they need to really take the time to reflect and say, well, how have I grown? And how have my beliefs shifted? And how has my perspective developed? And what are the things that I'm no longer willing to not have be a part of the work that I bring to the world? And that's like
Mm.
me right now. Like I'm taking that step with
Yeah.
my
What does that
faith.
mean for you? That was my
Like
next
right
question.
now, yeah, like for so many years, my faith, I always kept it on the side. I was always like, that doesn't belong in business. I'm not going to talk about God. I'm not going to talk about my faith. Like, I'm going to keep that off to the side. I'm going to do that in my private life. And I'm at a place now where, like, I've been through so much and I've experienced so much. And I now recognize that, like, in today's world, like the reason why suicide rates are so high, the reason why there's so much anxiety and depression, the reason why so many entrepreneurs are struggling is that they don't have access to their own higher power. They don't have faith. A lot
Mm.
of people don't even know it's available to them. We live in a godless society where that has been completely pushed to the side. And so for me, when I think about reinvention in my own life, I mean, obviously for me, it was moving out of being a coach and now running a portfolio of companies so that I can be a mentor versus a business coach. But when I think about what am I no longer not willing to have be a part of my message to the world, it's absolutely putting faith first and
Mm.
incorporating God into the way that you make decisions and who you are and how you are. And my goal, I'm the last person to be on a pulpit preaching anything or telling anyone what they should do with their faith or what faith even they should have. But what I do want to do is I want to be a person that's out in the public saying, hey, whatever it looks like for you, there's something available for you. And figure
Yeah.
out what it is and do your own searching and go deep within your own heart and your own soul and figure out what that looks like for you. Because if you don't have access to that connection, you're going to struggle. And people are.
I'm going to echo that. If you don't have a way to tap into a higher power than yourself right now, it's a really hard time for a lot of
That's what I'm
people.
saying.
Yeah, and I there was a great quote, and it was ironically from the comedian Russell Brand.
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
yeah, he's doing some interesting stuff lately. He's really diving into some issues and like
He is.
under getting underneath them and stuff. And he was saying that if we don't take time to figure out how to access the divine for ourselves, we will worship the mundane. We will worship the everyday around us, and then when that fails, basically, I'm extrapolating on it now
Yeah.
when that fails, then we feel like a failure. Like we feel like everything around us
100%.
just crumbled versus staying tapped into that connection. And
That's
so, yeah,
100%.
I'm going to say something too. I would have guessed you were an atheist actually before, which is really interesting.
Really?
I just because not knowing you before, I saw just Kelly Roach. Like, she's a freaking business machine and she's like, does everything amazing. And I don't know. I never really felt like I got to know the real Kelly
Yeah.
until like the last few
Yeah.
years, which has been such a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Well, yeah, I'm a very private person. I think a lot of people see me online a lot and think that I put everything online, and I don't put anything online. Like, I choose what I put online
Yeah.
to say, "Hi, I'm a human," like, I'm sharing things, right? Like, but I'm a super private person. I don't really like, when I have the most important moments of my life or experiences with my family or things that I'm doing, like, those things are so sacred to me. I don't wanna put them online. I don't wanna share them with the world. I wanna experience them in real time with the person that I'm sharing them with, But yeah, but to your point though, Allie, exactly what you were just saying about what Russell Brand was saying about people struggling because they don't have that, that's exactly what my observation of the entire entrepreneurial space online is right now. And that's why I
Mm.
couldn't live with myself not putting this out there, because I'm like watching, they're crumbling. Everyone is crumbling because they've been told that they can do this without. They don't need anyone. They don't need anything. They can just work their way through. And like, there's situations in life where like more hard work isn't going to do it, you know?
Yeah. I just applaud you for talking more openly about it. And also, it's not like it's this secret thing either. It's
Yeah.
funny. It's just a funny thing,
Yeah.
isn't it? Because some people talk about it, some people don't.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong. I'm just happy that you're bringing that out because I think people need that right now and may not realize that that is a cornerstone and a piece of your foundation that now we see has been behind what you've created and given you that capacity,
Yeah.
right? So, I just love that. I love that you're bringing
Thank
that out
you.
there. And I do think, right now there's a lot of people that are looking for something else. So maybe they needed to hear that today. And
Yeah.
so tell us about this reinvention for you right now, like what this meant for you personally. And I know, I just went to your site. It's all brand new. You have a whole team of advisors working with you. Tell us about this
Yeah.
reinvention.
I mean, I think that gosh, it's been so many steps and so much for so long, but I think um I'm just always searching for, have you read the book The Alchemist? Did you read The Alchemist? Yeah, he talks about the personal legend.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think that's like the most magical book that I've ever read. And he talks about, your search for your personal legend. And I think for me, I'm just on a lifelong journey of trying to fulfill what I think is my personal legend. Like, why am I here? What am I meant to contribute? What does that look like now? Which I think changes. And when I think about reinvention and when I think about it for myself, it's like, I think what I am called to bring in this season for people is perspective. It's perspective, and it's really helping them to understand the power of self-leadership. I think there's been a very sick, kind of twisted thing that's developed in the uh, education, coaching, mentorship space where we put people on pedestals, and then they don't do what we want them to do, how we want them to do them. We like to knock them down. And there's the weird societal stuff. We do it with celebrities. It's like a whole thing, right? And I think what people need now is they need to connect to their higher power, and they need to trust themselves. They need to learn once again how to tap into their own intuition and actually hear and believe and trust the guidance that they've already been given that's innate inside of them. I think everyone is searching for everything outside of themselves, and it's like chasing a ghost. It's like you're never going to get it. It's just like
Mhm.
things, right? We like things. Things are great, right? But like you get the thing and then you're like, cool, okay, on to the next, right? Whereas like when you find happiness inside of yourself, and when you can share moments with people that you love, and when you can have experiences that actually matter to you, like that's something that you can feel and that you can internalize. And I think this external pursuit of whatever, happiness, validation, whatever it is, I think we've lost our connection to our hearts and our souls. And I want to help people find that again. And I think that they will have a lot more success building their empires and growing their businesses when they develop more self trust and more kind of radical ownership of themselves versus trying to can't control. We can't
Mm.
control other people. We can't control society. We can't control what the government does. All we can do is control ourselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us what I know you have
Oh
something
yeah.
that you wanted to mention
Yeah.
that is new, that is something about reinvention that you have created because this
Yeah.
is such a
So,
common topic.
I kept hearing and seeing so many established business owners that were just frustrated in their businesses and felt like it just wasn't working and they didn't know why. And I'm like, you got to go deeper. They think they can learn the next like Instagram tactic and it's going to like help them. And I'm like, it's not.
Mhm.
It's so much deeper, right? So I put together, it's a 15-page reinvention playbook, and it literally talks from every angle of how do you make pivots in your business? How do you do a strategic realignment? How do you assess different business models to see what direction you might want to go in your business? What pricing model is right for you in this season of life? How do you identify how to catch your business up to your evolution and consciousness? Like it really hits this from like 12 different angles to help people to self-identify. Again, my mission in
Mm.
this next season is I want people to understand the power that they have inside of themselves. You don't need to sign up for another program to figure that out. You can do the inner work and you can identify where you want to go next. And then, of course, if you want to work with someone like one of us, great. But if you want to just DM me, anybody that's listening to the show, if you DM me on Instagram, my handle is Kelly Roach Official. Just DM me roadmap, and I'll send you the book. It's free, no strings attached, but it hits this from all different angles. And I really believe when you get through it to the end of it, you're going to have such peace because you're going to realize the control that you already have, the potentiality of doing whatever you want to do, and also how to strategically do a realignment so that you can transition the business into where you want to go next without feeling like you have to do this like crazy,
Mm.
fast overnight switch that doesn't usually really benefit people as much as it could.
Yeah. Do you think that what do you I'm leading the witness. Hold on.
I love it.
I wanna really know your opinion. Trends when you look at what's about to happen, with a lot of the types of businesses that we have in our circles, that's been dependent on a personal brand or in teaching a methodology. Like, what do you think is gonna be happening over the next 3 to 4 years?
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. I mean, I think we're gonna continue to see an exodus. I think a lot of people, and I explain this in great detail in the book. A lot of people rode the wave of a couple years of an inflated economy and lots of stimulus injections and people having disposable income. And they kind of adjusted their business model and their expectations, their team, even their service delivery to an unsustainable environment. And now we've pivoted back into a pre COVID environment that more resembles what it's like to actually earn business and do business, right? And so a lot of people are leaving, and I think a lot of people are going to continue to leave. I think a lot of businesses are going to shut down, and a lot of people are going to exit. I think that, as people continue to get more discerning and as the online marketing world gets more mature, right? The space is maturing. I think that the expectations are going to be higher. I think that people are going to want to be in environments where, again, information doesn't have the same power as it once did. So it's connection, it's community,
Mhm.
it's relationship, it's high touch, it's how do I experience something that is really going to lead me through to get to an outcome. And I think a lot of people just skated on the surface doing as little as they possibly can for a really long time. And I don't think the consumer is going to
Yeah.
tolerate that anymore. I think that the people that are really invested in their craft and really care about what they're doing are absolutely going to rise. I think the people that are willing to go deeper with what they're doing are going to see a lot more opportunity because I think the competition is actually going to thin out quite a bit. I think we're going to have some tougher seasons, but I think that's okay. I think the tough seasons really are what create the good seasons, right? And if you think about the four seasons, and I talk about this in the book, like winter is where you hibernate, you rest, you prune, you consolidate, you contract, you reset. right? And then in spring you plant, and in summer you work all summer long and you have no representation of that work that you're doing. But finally, that really, really short window in the fall is where that harvest blooms. And I think everyone has this expectation in business that it's an infinite, upward trend. And they forget that in the natural cycle of things, your business has to go through these seasons so that you can rest, reset, recalibrate,
Yeah.
grow, rest, reset, recalibrate, grow. And I think if you can have that perspective and really look at your business through that longer lens, you can have just an immense amount of success in the years to come.
And this is actually new for us to not only experience,
Mhm.
but witness. When you look at especially all of us who came online, whether it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I started selling ebooks in 2002. I just said that out loud. It felt so weird. Yeah. Oh my God. That's when you could just send out an
Yeah,
email. It was like, wow, money.
yeah,
No one even needs to know who I am. This is fantastic. Um, I mean, we just saw
yeah,
this. We saw the up, the upward trajectory, and like everything looked linear and easy, and everyone's model they were teaching was like linear, right? And so the last several years to witness, especially a lot of the women leaders give themselves permission to reinvent, to change things, to realign what they're doing with who they are, and this whole amazing energetic ride that we're on, and like
yeah,
learning. I mean, this is the
yeah,
lesson in the end, isn't it? Aligning
yes.
what we do to truly who we are and our mission in the world. And that is where I know a lot of us keep, reinventing over and over because we
Absolutely.
change. And it's a crazy ride, but we wouldn't change it for the world. And one last question for you, Kelly. It's been such a pleasure having you in the trust. I believe since we first kicked off, you're a founding member. The question I ask always is, what is the real reward in all of this for you?
Contribution, I think, is the reward. I think it's doing something meaningful with your window of time, that you're here. And I think it's just remembering that we're only here for a really short time and being cognizant of how we want to use it. And I don't think there's any higher reward than contributing to the people that you touch and interact with and that are in your space to say, I left this person, I left this place better than it was. And so that's what it is for me, contribution.
Mm, I love it. Tell Billy and Madison that I said
Thank
hi,
you.
and I hope you enjoy your time off. And I'll see you at the fall meeting for the trust.
Yes, I'll see you at the fall meeting. Thank you so much for having me. It was a great conversation.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Subscribe now to the Reward Podcast to be sure to not miss an episode. And don't forget to visit jointhetrust.org to learn more about our modern community for forward-thinking 7- and 8-figure women entrepreneurs. You can learn more, apply to join us, or refer another woman you know who is over the $1 million mark and is ready for a different type of women's network. We have events coming up both live and online that are truly creating new possibilities for female leaders. That's jointhetrust.org. See you there.